finally starting to feel like spring, and I've got a list of tasks that I need to knock out before I can start tackling my outdoor garden. I need to repot some indoor plants, do a bit of spring cleaning, and start growing some seeds and cuttings. But let's start with the most overdue task on my list, repotting my dad's 30-year-old spider plants. Hard to believe these are over 30 years old, but even crazier, it's been 25 years since my dad repotted them. They're certainly a resilient plant, so if you struggle with your green thumb, these are an easy one to start with. So I'm just going to be using a generic potting mix since they're not too picky. So I've never repotted a spider plant before, certainly not one that's older than myself, but it had this weird trunk or stem growth. I'm not really sure what the technical term would be, but from what I can tell after researching a bit online, it just means it's an old plant, and technically you can cut the stem short and put it in water and let it grow roots again. But for now, I'm just going to transplant it into the new pot and just see how it does. So I've always wanted to pot those, but they're actually toxic to cats, so this one's going to have to hang from the ceiling. But apparently they're very easy to take care of, and they are another air purifying plant, so they're a great plant to have in your home. This one has a little powdery mildew on the leaves, so I'm going to try treating it with some neem oil. Now, calatheas are very temperamental plants. They normally reside on the bottom of a tropical rainforest in Central and South America, so they like damp soil and high humidity, but they actually don't like too much light. They only want about 3 to 6 hours of indirect low light. Anything more and they might get foliage burn. Now, on the difficulty scale, these plants are considered hard to take care of, but I figured this would be a perfect plant for my room since it gets so little light. Thankfully, they are non-toxic to cats. As you can see, my cats have already taken a nibble. Now, this jewel orchid was actually about to be thrown out, so I ended up getting this one for free. They like moderate indirect light, so I'll probably place it in a north window. And unlike regular orchids, instead of orchid bark, they like to grow in soil. Their difficulty level is moderate, and they're non-toxic to cats. So money trees are a lot like Goldilocks. They can sunburn in direct light, but grow leggy in dark corners. So you want to hit that happy medium of about 6 hours of indirect light. Some things to note, on the difficulty scale, they are considered moderate. They are also non-toxic to pets, and they are air purifying. Native to tropical rainforests, polka dot plants like soil that retains moisture but doesn't stay wet for too long. So I'm going to be mixing regular potting soil and indoor potting soil to get that balance. They like 3 to 6 hours of medium and direct light. Too little and it gets leggy and dull. Too much and it gets foliage burn. But last year I grew them outside and they got about 3 hours of direct morning sun, and they seem to do okay. This is a scarlet star bromeliad. Its life cycle is about 3 to 4 years, and when it finally blooms, it will have this really pretty reddish rosette in the center. They prefer moderate indirect light, moist soil, and high humidity. They're very easy to take care of, and they're also air purifying. Now, these are possibly toxic to cats. I can't really find a clear consensus on it, but I'm going to keep them in a room they can't get to regardless. I'd rather be safe than sorry. So this peanut cactus is growing a little long and skinny at the top, probably because it needs a little bit more light than it's getting. They typically like 6+ hours of bright indirect light, so I'll probably try putting this one outside for part of the summer. Side note for myself, I need to make sure I have better gloves next time because, ouch. Moon Valley Pilea, also known as the friendship plant, but my friends like to call it the dinosaur plant because it has that prehistoric look going for it. They like medium indirect light, moist, well-draining soil, and high humidity. They're easy to take care of, and they're non-toxic to pets. Now that I've finished repotting all my indoor plants, I'm going to move on to propagating one of my favorite outdoor ones. Now this plant is called Dorothianthus mizu, or Livingstone daisy. It's one of my favorite trailing plants, and I use it every year in my garden. It loves the heat and it's partially drought tolerant, but it's actually very difficult for me to find it in stores around me. So I went ahead and brought a couple plants in for the winter, and we're going to be taking some clippings from those. Now I just need to start my Snapdragon seeds. I actually don't have any seed starting soil, so I'm just going to be using 2 different soils that I already have, and we're going to see how that does. And with that, my early spring to-do list is complete.